So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Gary Bowers. I'm the past president for our chapter, and I'll be acting as facilitator today. So if you have any questions, if you hover over, everybody's going to be using a different device, but you should be able to find a Q&A section. I'll be monitoring that Q&A window as well as the chat window. That way, if you have any questions, you can submit them there, and I'll interrupt Randy as we go along. That way she doesn't have to monitor all those windows. So with that, Randy, I'll hand it over to you, and you can go ahead and get started.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. It's always a little strange not seeing all the faces out there and talking to you, but I personally think it's a pretty interesting presentation, but of course I put it together, so I would think that. We're going to talk tonight about what we've done over the last year, where we see things headed, and provide the results for the survey and the election results. So this cover picture here is for our July 9 meeting, shows our social distancing at the farmer's market. And then the picture on the right is Sue Weissman, Kathy Galloway, and Belinda Boucher, who have been doing some interesting things out at the New River Ranch County Park. And we'll talk about that as well. So welcome, everyone. There we go. I'm Randy Pensavine, as I said. Most of you I know, and maybe all of you I know. I haven't looked at the list, but I've been a member since 2005, plant cell leader, NLCP coordinator and instructor, and worked on a lot of gardens, which is a lot of fun. Actually, everything I've been involved in NIPSOT has been fun. So thank you. Finances, this is just a general overview. I don't like to throw out numbers on a public forum like this, so we'll just say that we have 142 members. We're a very, very good, strong membership. Spring plant sale, instead of the Ladybird Wildflower Center, which was canceled, we decided at the last moment to do a booth at these farmers markets here in Sun City. And I will again speak about those a little later on about how we did. But in general, our spending is way down because we don't have any activities. And so that helps the finances quite a bit. And we have no requests coming in, even for the fall or any future gardens. And so our chapter funding is still quite healthy. So no worries there. I'm going to begin with the membership survey results. I want to tell you that your ideas do help the chapter. We do read them. It's been sent to the entire board, and that includes the elected members as well as the appointed board. And there's been some real interesting results from that survey. But it does help us find interesting speakers, come up with new field trips you might be interested in that field trip committee hadn't thought of, and just provide new ideas in general. So we tried to ask an open-ended question in there so that you could provide what you want to see and do and hear from the Native Plant Society. And you can certainly give us input year-round. You don't have to wait around for a survey to come. You can speak to any board member or get on our blog and fill out one of our email forms and send that in, and Pat Donico will route that to the proper person to answer and respond. So we had 35 responses, a little disappointing. We'd like a little more participation. Excuse my voice, I've got allergies and was outside today, of course. But anyway, we had 35 responses out of our 142 members. The vast majority of those were the NIPSOT members. And we had a couple from a different chapter, so that was fun. We invite other chapters to join our virtual meetings. And then also we allow people to register on our blog to get our emails and sign up for our meetings. So no need to be a NIPSOT member. You will get our emails. Although we encourage you to become a member because we do a lot of fun things. And I'll show you what we do with some of that membership money later on. So do you attend chapter meetings? 77% of the respondees said yes. So that's good out of the 88%, I believe it was, that are NIPSOT members. Lesser is virtual, and I can see that. Some people aren't into it. And then a few rarely, and some are never. And I assume some of those aren't even members. So the survey went out to members as well as non-members. The election voting only went out to members. So we'll clarify that. Did you participate in a field trip? So half of them have, and about half of them have not. And a quarter of those respondees did watch the virtual Berry Springs part, virtual walk. So question one was, what chapter meeting program topics would you like to see? And we got a lot of how to do this, how to do that, how to maintain, how to prune, how to plant, how to trim, how to treat bugs. So it ran the gamut, and those are things that we should be doing, I agree. Landscaping for beginners, we had a lot of questions about that. Sun, shade, evergreen, hedges, small spaces. Plants for birds, butterflies, pollinators. One person wanted to know the showiest natives, and I thought that was an interesting idea. Plant reproduction strategies. So another interesting idea that we may not have thought of. And incorporation of native plants without removing all current plants. And that's certainly highly doable. We preach using native plants, but I believe Doug Tallamy said that they did some studies, and I meant to look that up before tonight, but didn't. But 70%, if you'll plant 70% natives in your yard, then you'll be doing good. But it needs at least 70% to be a valid pollinator supporter and provide the nectar and host plants that are valued by them. Examples of successful landscapes. And that was everything from a home landscape to dealing with HOAs to suburbs and out in large acre properties and restorations, etc. Edible native, soil science, plant diversity and invasives, specifically in riparian areas. So that's kind of a nice little pocket there. And interdependence, this is a long one, interdependence of ecosystem factors on native environments. So how does the ecosystem interact as far as supporting the wildlife and the insect population that's needed to support the birds, et cetera? And then advocacy, one person was interested in advocacy, one was in restoration, and then also wildscapes, always a fun subject. And then county trails and parks, rate for wildflowers by season. So I don't know if this person wanted to have a presentation strictly on all the county trails and parks, and that would be an interesting idea for the Speakers Bureau that we have to put together. Can you recommend any particular speakers? Now these two questions kind of overlap because we got a lot of, see the other one, etc. But Betsy Ross is always a good one. I haven't seen her in a while, but she spoke to our club a couple of years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, so we should certainly have her back. George Diggs, binomial classification. I'm not sure who that is personally, but we can get in touch with him. Beth Irwin, anything plants, landscaping, our own member. Wizzy Brown, that's a name we hear a lot about, entomologist. So Kelly Bender, we hear every couple of years because she's always a lot of fun, very entertaining, and we learn something new. Mary Irish, this opens up with the virtual meetings. It opens up to other speakers outside of those that can travel here for an evening. And that makes it real convenient. So Mary Irish is an author that's a wide variety of garden styles, and that would be good to have as a virtual speaker. Bill Carr, botanist and virtual meeting, an expert from a large city or university who would not otherwise travel to Central Texas. So I agree with that person wholeheartedly. What in-person field trips would you find interesting? Boy, this ran the gamut. Everything from specialty nurseries to Big Bend State Park to Native American wild seed, Native American seed, of course, the Wildflower Center, and a lot of these, again, lend themselves to virtual field trips. So what virtual field trips? Several people said C number 4 answer. So walks through parks with explanation of benefits, local sites, members' yards, plant ID and care. So walk through somewhere and do a plant ID and care discussion with real plants. One person is not a fan of Zoom or other computer type presentations. I understand that. So I don't expect they're listening tonight. And any of the in-person field trips, large pasture renovations, that would be fun. River Ranch County Park, that's a possibility. It's supposed to maybe open late 2020. We'll have to see how the construction on the, what is it, not the information center, but the interpretive center. And then perhaps we'll be able to get a preview of the park before it opens if we can't get out there in person. And then botanical gardens that are not in our area, certainly the San Diego Botanical Garden and down in Houston and up in Dallas. And areas that are in bloom in a spectacular way where members might not go there or travel or might miss due to a short bloom time. And that one sounds very interesting as well. So a lot of great ideas. I really appreciate that from everyone who did sign in and answer the survey questions. This is an interesting one. What do you think we should do that we're not doing for the membership? And we had one person that said, are we having meetings? I haven't received an email. That brings up a good point because you have to sign up for our emails. I assume if you're in this meeting, you've probably signed up for our emails. If you haven't, go to nipsot.org to the Williamson County chapter, and on the right-hand side, scroll down, and there's a box to enter your email. And we do not share our list with anyone. It's just internal for sending our blog notices, and it's easy to cancel as well. And moving on, create virtual NLCP classes and many more classes. So new members need it. Our new members really want to take classes. We heard a little bit of disappointment that our level 1 got canceled this spring as well. We were disappointed, but Gary is working on putting together, Gary and Sue putting together a virtual class for the fall. We have signed up to do that with the state, and we will do the level 1 introduction to native landscaping, and all the details on that are being worked out. Overall, engage new members more. That's always something we should do better and better. Strive to do better and better. Diversity, reach out to cultural and ethnic groups. That I'm going to put on our board agenda. That's come to light lately in the news, and that's something we could do. We do a lot of various schools and children and charities, so that comes into play. So we try to reach out to diversity, but we can always do a better job at that. And we can do better as far as our membership, reaching out for new members as well. One person wasn't sure of people's names, faces, and roles, so I didn't put together a slideshow to show you all the new officers, but at our next meeting, I will have a slideshow of the new peoples, of everyone that's on the board, appointed and elected, Scouts Honor, that we will have the names and faces and their roles, a brief, real short role description. One person wanted to interact with others via Zoom breakout room. Now Gary will know what that is, but I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but it's a suggestion. Be able to ask questions of more experienced members. Now, I think they didn't really say, but I think they meant offline, just kind of have some resources available that they could ask questions of. And we have that, but it's, you go to our blog and there are forms on all the different activities, whether you're interested in field trips or classes or, you know, plant sales or whatever, there's a form you can fill out there and somebody will get back to you about it. And you just enter your name and contact info. Visit other clubs' meetings, and the other similar was get involved in other clubs, other groups, share our expertise in native plants more. We do tend to just go to our meetings. We have a lot of crossover with master naturalists. We have a fair amount of crossover with master gardeners as well. So I don't know if you're just not seeing it or we're not advertising that or what, but there is that interaction because plant people just like to hear about plants. Resources lists. We have a member who's a real estate agent and she wants a resources list because she's always needing landscape design, installation, care, etc. We have avoided that, putting one out up to now. A couple of reasons is we feel like we need to vet those people pretty thoroughly in order to put them on a list. And also, if we recommend somebody, if we put someone on a resource list, someone will assume we're recommending them and could come back on us if they're not satisfied with the results or have any issues with the landscaper. Youth outreach, another interesting suggestion, start a NIPSOT seedlings group that gets parents and kids involved in why they need to organically garden and use native plants. So that was a good one. And there are more suggestions. So I thought I would go over our year in review. I took office in September 2019. I've always been on the board, so it's kind of a gray area between Gary's presidency and mine, but I'll take a lot of credit for things he started. That's not a problem. Fall 2019 activities and events. We did in LCP this fall, we were able to hold 3 classes. We did level 1, 3 in birds. In the spring, we were just doing level 1, which, as you know, got canceled. We also did the Hutto Fall Garden Fest. Denny Shea presented xeriscaping with Texas native plants. That's a fun thing to do. LBJ Wildflower Center, we were able to do our chapter fundraiser for the year end. We do spring and fall. That's how we raise money for our activities. Field trips, the field trip team was recognized for their interpretive trail signs. And we like to see that because they work very hard on them. That we did field trips in several places, Wolf Ranch, Paloma, Gary Park. So you can see we did quite a few field trips. And Texas State University graduate, we provided the student with interviews of experts and new homeowners. Belinda Boucher took interfaced with the student and had her contact a couple of different people. And then Sue Weissman, Gary Bowers, and I went down to Kyle, Texas, and presented to some new homeowners on native plant landscaping. So that was fun. And we gave away a lot of native plants, so they really enjoyed that. Virtual walks, we'll resume those this fall. It's just too darn hot. Who knows when we'll be able to do any in-person walks. The state says it's allowed right now. That was voted in as long as you wear masks, social distance, etc. You know, follow all the common sense rules. But I don't think we're comfortable with it. Each chapter should make their own decision. And at this point in time, the way things are going in Williamson County and in Georgetown in particular, I'm not interested in having any of that. And I've had no one from the field trip team call up and say they want to do it either. So we'll just assume people are being sane and sensible and distancing. Here's some of the walks that were planned that we canceled this spring, so they're a possibility. And also some of the suggested walks from the survey as well. Spring 2020, we had quite a few events planned. You can see we're a very active chapter. We had quite a few events planned, but they got canceled one by one. Meridian School, that was going to be fun with parents and kids, a nice garden party. And we were going to have a table there with some activities for the kids. Seed starters for children at the Gary Park Earth Day, another booth. And these enabled us also to hand out our literature. So that's fun. Cottonwood Creek Elementary Hutto present topics in area of STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, and
It's just STEM, right?
ACE. I have STEAM.
Oh, well, maybe they added an extra
I should look
acronym that I
that
didn't
up.
know about.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. And mathematics. Another children's activity, NIPSOT booth at Mini Earth Day Fair in Round Rock. Hutto Springapalooza present to a group of families about wine native plants. Denny Shea was going to do that one. This is from our Speakers Bureau. Patsy Summer Elementary. Oh yeah, Beth Irwin was going to have kindergartners plant Gaillardia seeds in 4-inch pots and then watch them grow and then get to take them home and plant them. So she was very disappointed about that. Did we get an answer on STEAM? I just saw something flash. Okay, anyway, I'll keep talking.
Oh,
Virtual
arts.
walk, arts and mathematics, absolutely. Okay, virtual walk, Gary did the Berry Springs Park and Preserve just to see how that would work out, and it worked out great. So that was fun. These were things we were able to do this spring. Plant sales, we decided, like I said, at the last minute to do some plant sales, and that would have been Sun City twice and downtown Georgetown twice. And we had some helpers, Nancy Copperman, Candy Prater, Kathy Henderson, Gary Bowers, myself, and Beth. And we really enjoyed it. And I'll talk more later about the benefits of that and what went on. Berry Springs Park and Preserve, Charles has continued his battle with invasives. We'll talk about that. Berry Springs Park and Preserve, Nest and Spirit Rains, we're in the monitoring and maintenance, making sure the beds that were put in and all the plants stay alive and the weeds are maintained. Georgetown Public Library, Agnes Platino and Marilyn take care of that, and the landfill pollinator garden. So there's a lot of opportunity if anyone wants to get out and get in the dirt and learn from some of the people who have some good knowledge to pass on. So that would be great. These are some of your experts you can ask questions of. So if you come out and volunteer, you can ask questions about your yard. River Ranch County Park, Sue Weissman, Kathy Galloway, Linda Boucher, and the interpretive signs groups. They've been assisting the park director. They have a contractor who's, doing the park and building buildings and putting in roads and all that. But they've also got in the contract to put in some plant signs. So they are not using our plant signs, but we are involved in reviewing their verbiage and also helping them to know where to place them in the park. So that's been going. City of Georgetown, that was Kathy McCormick assisted the director of parks. She saw the sign team signs at one of our parks. I believe it was Brushy Creek. And she was really excited about them and wants to put them in at her park as well. And those signs are shared throughout the community. They're available for download and people can get their own signs made. And that way, we don't have to actually make the signs for them. But she had some questions on getting the signs made, etc. So more than willing to help out with that. Patsy Summer Elementary Science Vertical Team presented ways to raise, Beth Irwin met with a team of teachers and presented ways to raise awareness of 4th and 5th graders and engage them in protecting and preserving native Texas plants. So that was a worthwhile endeavor. And that was very early before everything shut down, I know. Okay. Farmers Market. Well, who would have thought you could have a lot of customers at a farmer's market? This is, I want to point out first, this is the usual thing we do for our plant sales. We go out to nurseries, we look at all the plants, and we pick out what we want to buy. We do some pre-order from Wright's Nursery as well, and we go out there and select plants. So there's a lot of interaction with the wholesalers and plant growers and being able to choose plants and see what's out there in the market. So that's really interesting. Also, we get involved in assisting one of our growers, Wright's Nursery, out there at her nursery and doing transplanting. And you learn an awful lot about why you do it that way. And you can ask questions again of the experts as to, what's wrong with my, Turk's cap, it's doing this and that. So you get to learn that. You get to learn about transplanting seedlings and just hanging out with other plant people and talking the talk. And then at the bottom right, you'll see this is our booth, a 20 by 40 foot booth. And we have some additional space outside the booth at the Wildflower Center. And then we go up here to our farmer's market. We have a 10 by 10 foot booth. So that's why we ended up doing it 4 times. And we really wanted to get a sense of the audience we could draw. We were not inside the Wildflower Center bubble. These were native plant enthusiasts. We were out in the general public, and the farmers market was very gracious to us, and we want to thank them for hosting us and giving us a guest spot and helping us with where we set up and all the logistics. So we really had a good time. We were able to talk to new people that never knew existed. We handed out tons of brochures and free state magazines. We sold plants at a reasonable cost, and we gave away plants as well. We had a lot of fun doing when you buy a plant at checkout, you get one little 4-inch free plant. So people just thought that was just the funnest thing ever, getting a free plant. So we really enjoyed that. And it brought a lot of people to the farmers market. So that's probably on my next slide, yep. It was brought a lot of people, supported the small business, brought a lot of new people to the farmers market. So it helped support the local organic farmers and also the local businesses that make honey, etc. So we felt good about supporting our local community. Also, it got hands in our natives, whereas down at the Wildflower Center, we are selling mainly to the Austin crowd, and we want to get the native plants more available in the Williamson County area. And also being closer to home, it makes it easier for members to volunteer rather than make that big drive. The only negative part to that was we did 4 sales, which we would not do again. I don't think, unless we could get enough volunteers, because it got to be a little burdensome for the few people that were trying to run it. But it wasn't as profitable. We would expect that, but we really reached the audience we need to reach. So we felt really good about that. And our chapter finances are fine. And we're going to take a look back at how much money do we really need to make, and what do we need to do to make that, and fold that in. Now this fall, the Wildflower Center has not canceled. We're thinking they probably will, but if they hold a plant sale, we'll still support them. They've been good to us for years, giving us a booth and whatnot. But we may also hold a couple of farmers markets as well. If Wildflower Center cancels totally, which would not surprise me, then we'll probably just go with the farmers markets and make the best of it.
Randy, we were a little
did
light.
I skip something? Yes.
No. I was going to ask, we were a little light on marketing the fact that we were at those farmers markets as well, right?
That's a good point. We didn't market heavily because we were afraid to be overwhelmed.
Right.
We didn't want to overwhelm the farmers market. We couldn't bring that many plants. We didn't want to. I mean, we certainly could have had them delivered, but some of you Sun City people, if you've seen the plant sales out at the Horticulture Club that they have in the spring, you know how many hundreds of people show up there. So this was a test case. And so we wanted to test our market, test our logistics, and just kind of see what we could do with the shoestring event. So we learned a lot, and we would do some things differently, but we got a lot of good knowledge. Thank you, Gary.
Sure.
Nest. You hear me talk about we're over here at Nest and I show the garden, but I don't know that we've ever said what Nest is for. Nest is nurturing, empowering, and supporting for tomorrow. This is part of the Georgetown Project, a nonprofit here in Georgetown. And their mission is a community where no child is hungry, hurt, alone, or rejected, and where all children and youth believe they are loved, respected, and treated with dignity. It's an after-school program, and they provide a lot of great services. And we've had a lot of fun working with the administration there, as well as the kids that hang out around there. This is the butterfly garden that was put in early 2019 under Gary's presidency, and there's been ongoing maintenance. Beth Irwin, in fact, is still checking on that and making sure everything's looking good. And they would have had students there all summer, but with these things shut down, or all spring, I mean, after school in the spring, but with things shut down, they didn't have quite the activity that they had hoped. But it's looking very nice, and they're very happy with it. Berry Springs Park and Preserve. This is a passive recreational with hiking, bike trails, and camp spots, and catch and release fishing, but just some wonderful hiking trails, and it's natural. Other than the mowed areas, there's a lot of pecan trees out there it was an old pecan orchard, but the hike and bike trails go out underneath. You can see here under 35. And there's a whole bunch of acreage over here, or not a whole bunch of acreage, but there's some acreage over here. And they also recently purchased or donated or purchased, I don't remember, some acreage over on this side of County Road. So that's a great park in the county. If you haven't been there, you should go. They wanted some, once an area got mowed that was a natural area and it should not have been mowed. So they wanted to make sure it wouldn't get mowed again by planting a couple of trees there, and also putting in some habitat that maybe should be there that isn't. And so we went in and studied it and looked at a planting plan. This was done again by Beth Irwin, and met with the management, designed the habitat. Everything got put in this spring with volunteers. Here's our volunteers doing the plantings. And so we had a lot of fun putting in the plants, and those are going to be watered through the summer. There's the truck. They put 2 rain barrels on the back, and Beth fills it up with well water and drives around, and we water. He's also got surrounded by fencing, you can see here, with to protect from the deer and the tractors that still do a little mowing on the front. Now, Charles has been out there all spring, social distancing and taking out invasive plants still. And he's going to continue those efforts. He's also going to begin to remove the Japanese honeysuckle, and he'll be asking for volunteers for that. And he hopes to start in Gary Park to begin removing Malta star thistle. And what he does is, and it makes sense, is focuses in on certain species to remove so that you can get them under control and get them knocked back significantly. I don't know if you'll ever eliminate them, but that would certainly be a lofty goal. But he'll be asking for more help in some of these projects. And you're outside, so that's nice. So here's what he's been able to accomplish at Berry Springs Park. He does have some volunteers that work with him as well, but he's gotten Chinaberry trees. They've removed over 1,500, 96% of them is the estimate, based on they've driven all over and tagged trees and saplings, and they just have a general idea where these are. So they've done a great job in doing that. They've also done a little bit of restoration because wildfires used to take care of these. On the ash juniper, taking some of those out so that the other plants can come up, and mesquite shrubs, because both of those, in the absence of fire, will take over as well. So, and drown out native plants. Excuse me. So Spirit Rains, this is another place we've done a pollinator garden. And you get to see the horses, and you might even get to pet one. But it partners with licensed mental health professionals and works with horses and children. So these are children that have experienced trauma, and they learn to trust again through the use of horses and the trained people that work with them and the horses. So they provide also a lot of services. And so to support that, we've put in a pollinator garden for the children. This one's up by upper left corner. Is Gary, can everyone see my cursor when I do this? Can you see my cursor in the upper left?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is a pollinator garden that says Greg Smith's flower and a bunch of other fun things in it. Turk's cap, white mist flower, some coral honeysuckle, and that's coming along. You can see here, this is it after it's been there for a couple of months, and it's mulched and weeded and watered and taken care of. Here's Beth, if you need some plumbing done. She's fairly expensive, but she's putting in a water line to run some drip irrigation over to these beds so we don't have to be out there daily. which is not an option at Berry Springs Park. And this one is up by another kind of maintenance building over here. And Gary is dumping mulch and Beth is spreading it. So that's looking good. Georgetown Library, if you want to know what plants are in here, you can do this QR code on your phone and it will take you to a layout of the bed. We did some refurbishing on that this spring and or actually very early this early winter. And unfortunately, this coral honeysuckle bush was taken out. So it's been replanted and should come back just fine. We don't know what happened. I think there was a water issue and it ended up died. We put in 25 more Turk's cap and Beth, like I said, Agnes and Marilyn take care of that and they trim the plants and clean up, you know, and just keep it looking nice for the library. And when we're out there working, we get an awful lot of nice compliments from people. Landfill pollinator garden, that is one Marilyn leads the effort with that, with the master naturalist. And that's out by the landfill, which is kind of out there, but it's a fun, more natural style garden. So if you're looking to do a pocket prairie or some acreage restoration, this one is a little more wild and carefree than a mulch bed. So that's a good example there. Election results, ta-da. All right, after election results, we're gonna talk about future plans. So don't get too excited. Outgoing board, this is your current board. This is changes over in September. And everyone was elected that was listed on the slate. No one had any issues. We've now got myself, I have one more year as president, and we'll be looking for a lot of people next year. We're kind of in luck this year because we didn't have to find a lot of new people. Maximum you can serve in an elected board position is 2 years. Denny Shea has stepped up to be vice president, which is nice because Aaron Buell is going to be our treasurer. Nancy Pumphrey has agreed to continue as secretary. Jane Catalano is going to continue as a director. And Gary gets one more year as past president, but we're not letting him go anywhere. So don't worry. And then our appointed positions, we had one position that's changing. Alice has stepped down. She did a wonderful job of membership. And we have Nancy Copperman, a fairly new member who has stepped up to do that. And we really appreciate that very much, as well as all the people that have agreed to continue to serve on the board. So these people have a voting right as well as your elected board and your appointed board all vote. We all meet during our board meetings and there's a nice exchange of ideas, a lot of enthusiasm for what we're doing. Kathy Henderson, Pat Donica runs our web, by the way. It's wonderful. Speakers Bureau, Kathy Henderson. Project Susie Hickman gets all our wonderful program speakers. If you have a speaker idea, you can contact her. And NLCP coordinator, Gary Bowers, Sue Weissman. And then Beth Irwin handles the plant sales and the projects, which has worked out very, very well. And then of course we all pitch in and help wherever we can. So you'll see a lot of these faces around a lot of our different activities and projects. Future plans, virtual until further notice, and it's getting further and further. August, we have agreed, the speaker has agreed to do virtual, so watch for your announcement. Native Plant Star and Monarch Way Stations. We're sorry we don't get to have Carol Clark in person, but she is with the NIPSOT Bring Back the Monarch to Texas, and she'll have a wonderful presentation. David Lewis will be doing Mushrooms of Texas. Now, this is interesting. I've never thought about it much, but Always take a picture of a mushroom when I see it. They're so interesting. Native plants for birds. We're excited to have Jane Tillman. She helped develop the companion class. It's a companion class to NLCP. It is not NLCP, but it was developed with the Audubon Society, and it's Native Plants for Birds. So we're looking forward to that. UT and Dell Medical Center Native Plant Landscaping with Justin Hayes. So that will be fun. I haven't seen him speak before. And then in December, we are supposed to have a holiday potluck and silent auction. Honestly, the way things are going, I don't see much happening the rest of this year, but we'll keep you posted month by month as to what is happening. And we will give you updates in our business portion of each meeting each month.
Randy.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, you do have a question. Unfortunately, it was back on the previous one.
Okay.
But Charles asks, for the pollinator garden, is it open now? Yes, if there's a gate, but I don't think there's a gate to the pollinator garden.
Pollinator garden where
I
Spirit Rains?
believe
Spirit Rains is gated. I'll just say this, Spirit Rains is gated, so we can't get into it. That might be good for one of the virtual walks.
Right.
So we can get in there and look around. That's a private facility, and you can understand that the work they do, they need total control.
Charles
Very
is clarifying, not the recycling center.
No, the recycling center is open. You can drive by, you can walk out there, no problem. Just wear your boots and your spray for chiggers, probably. It's not mowed. They mow along the roadside, and that's about it.
And periodically, Marilyn will go through and weed eat the pathways.
Yeah. So overall, we've had fairly good response to our virtual meetings. Just to kind of give an update, 105 registered for April. Oh, I forget. I can't click. Excuse me. 105 registered for April. 73 actually attended, so that's a pretty high attendance rate. In May, not sure what was going on, 34 attended, and in June we had 60. So just thought y'all would be interested in how much response we're getting from our virtual meetings. And as always, it does vary by speakers and time of year and just what's going on in people's lives. Level 1 fall virtual class, we're doing same format, but we're going to record the speakers, and I don't know about the testing. It's going to be handled online through the state, and I don't know what we're doing for the walks. Gary, do you know yet, or is that still under development?
We will do the walks as virtual walks, so similar to what we did for Berry Springs Park.
Okay.
And so
but people will have a map of where the plants are, and they'll be able to go out and look at them themselves.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is that we'd be able to do that and maybe give out the Google map with the little points on it so that they could find the plants. You know, depending on timing, I need to sit down with Sue and determine when it's going to be the time that we offer the class, and that'll kind of let us back into how much time we have to put everything together. The recording of the sessions will be a little bit of time.
All right, and that I'm sorry, are you done?
Nope.
Cut you off.
I can be done.
Cut you off. All right, that's enough. The class isn't open yet, so you will get an announcement if you've signed up on our blog. You'll get an announcement that the class is open for registration. So thank you. Thank you. It was an interesting cattail. As far as the rest of our activities, plant sales, like I said, the Wildflower Center in the fall, if they're open. If not, we'll fall back on just the farmers market. But we'll probably do a couple of farmers markets anyway, if not at least one, kind of get our name out there and meet the public and get some native plants out in Williamson County. And we will continue to develop NLCP online classes, even when the in-person resumes. Gary's been pushing for that for a couple of years now. So I think it's finally, once people are comfortable with it, that will continue. Meetings, of course, virtual, but we plan to continue those. Hopefully, it's going to be a little different way. It won't quite be Zoom, but we're lucky to have Gary, who is a technological wizard, to help us figure that out and have virtual meetings even when we're doing in person. And field trips, we'll have both virtual and in person, not virtual during and in person necessarily, but record them and then put them online. And projects, we hope to have lots of new native plant gardens that need to be put in and continue the management of invasives. Everyone, we hope you stay safe, and we are just looking forward to meeting with you again and hopefully getting back in a room where we feel comfortable. Thank you very much. I'm done.
All right. Randy, if folks weren't able to jump in and provide any feedback, at least when the survey came out, can you remind them what they should do if they have some ideas that they want to share with the board?
Yeah, and this is available 24/7. Get on our blog and on our website and go to whatever. There's also a general form. Just ask NIPSOT. Pat Donica will take it and she'll route it to the right person, but you can just fill in any of our forms, honestly, and it'll get around to the right person. There's several contact forms. You know, if you have a question, fill in this and someone will contact you. So just fill it in, give us a brief idea of what you're in need of, are interested in, and we will get back to you with answers. And it usually happens within a day or two. So we do like to get back to people and let them know what's going on and be responsive.
Charles has one question about posting current flowers blooming on Facebook. Charles, I think that was actually Barbara, right? Was posting to our page, and so she was sharing those. I haven't seen her doing that too much lately.
Yeah.
But I think anybody is free to post. So if you've got something that you want to share on Facebook, you should be able to post that to our page. I see them come through and I review them, but I don't have to approve them. You know, I'll only turn that on if we start having trouble. But for right now, you're welcome to share anything that you want on the Facebook page, and most of the members will see it.
Okay, Gary, thank you.
Sure.
I didn't know that.
Yes, she was doing very well there for a while.
Yeah, well, life happens.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay.
No other questions?
No, there's some thanks and some good meeting kudos.
Okay.
So
Great.
I think we're all set.
All right. Good night, everyone.